Before you watch the video, we kindly ask that you hit the like button. It costs you nothing, helps us a lot. On to the show. Super duty tough work. Good morning.
What's up?
Early morning edition. We here, folks.
Yeah, daylight savings time edition.
Don't forget to set your joints back.
Forward.
Forward. Don't forget to set your joints forward. We're speaking to you from the future right now. You know what I mean? You know. But yeah, daylight savings, man. It's spring. But it snowed outside.
Right. Like it's been 70. We've been hitting 70s like
every week.
February.
Yeah, every week we got like 2 days where it's like 60 or 70.
Yep.
This last week, 30.
Yeah.
Snowing.
Yeah, I didn't even know. I didn't even know it was supposed to snow.
Me neither.
I woke up this morning.
Looked outside like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready for spring.
Yeah.
You know, I feel real good about life. You know, we've been getting healthy and whatnot.
Right.
This is your weekly reminder that we are still in the midst of the 90-day Health is Wealth Challenge. So if you are home, you know, our fitness challenge is still on. You can still join us. You can still get right. You know, brothers is out here losing this weight. You know, I think I'm down 8.4. You know, I've been stuck on this same pound for like a week.
Just, yeah, I lost 2 more. I'm up to 8.
Yeah, I've been stuck like this same number. I just can't get over this next hump. It's like, golly, I've been there for 7 days. Can't get to that next number. So, but I'm gonna keep at it and keep going to see if I can get that. But I will say this though, you know, motherfucker did 200 push-ups, 200 sit-ups last night.
Nice.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Nice.
Like I might not be losing the weight, but a motherfucker getting right and tight. I can say that. I'm seeing a little bit of definition, just little creases in my joint, little ones.
Yeah.
You know. So if you're at home, we encourage you to keep going. You know, I think we probably still got well over a month and a half or so to go. So continue. Let me think of what else we need to do. This, you know, this week's episode is sponsored by Hugo Monster and his new album, Trial and Error, which is due out March 31st, 2023.
Nice.
As the title suggests, Trial and Error record about just doing things, not overthinking it, living life, being experimental with your music, going out there and just making it happen. There's no guarantees in this shit, but you know, if you don't try, you're going to fucking lose. The album is produced by Pavo, you know, and it's the kind of rugged boom bap that we here at Super Duty Tough Work fuck with.
Yep.
Rugged rhymes as well. Y'all know what it is. You know, standout tracks. I wrote down a few. Halfway Woke, Ill Intentions, which I'm pretty sure has a vocal sample of me in the back saying, tell them. Hugo will have to confirm that with us, but I thought that was us. You know what I'm saying? Because it says like, say it again for the people in the back, and I just hear, tell them. Like, that's me, man. I think that's me. You know what I mean?
It's funny.
Talking to you. You know what I mean? And then, you know, the third standout features our own Illogic. It's a track called Anybody Out There with Illogic. You know what I'm saying? You can pre-order Trial and Error right now at hugomonster.com, HUGOMONSTER.com. He's got packages with CDs, cassettes, stickers, and hoodies. Support this man. We appreciate him supporting the podcast through his sponsorship, and we encourage you to support him. Now, today's show. I made a tweet about a month or two ago, and the tweet was titled, "Don't worry, producers. AI is coming for you next." Man, that tweet ended up going viral. It was on a lot of spots. Some people were offended. Some people understood where I was coming from, and it was like, he's right. You know, I don't necessarily consider myself a futurist. You know what I'm saying? nor am I like a guy who dreads the past. I like to live in the now. But my understanding, and Elijah can attest to this, our understanding of computer science makes us look at some situations a little differently.
Yes.
We have friends and colleagues within fields and in certain trenches that are involved in technologies that the general public doesn't know about, or that are already there and are invisible to them.
Yes.
And we want, and one of those things is production. AI is coming for production. Doesn't mean you're going to be out of a job. Doesn't mean that the producer will be no more, or that making original things. It doesn't mean you can do everything you can do. But there are some developments involving AI and music in general that we need to start talking about as music producers, because this technology can shape the current landscape and dictate the future of this shit. And so this episode is called The End of Sampling as We Know It.
No.
Sounds very grim. I know. Very grim. We have an article we're going to read, and then we're going to, talk about it. And then we're going to give you guys some pointers on how to kind of avoid this coming change of direction, or I'll call it an adjustment period that we're going to have in music. And we'll take a break and we'll be right back.
Word.
We got you stuck off the realness, the most infamous, you heard of us. Official podcast murderers, the show comes equipped with viewpoints to share. Grown man ideas for all those who care and want to grow, so go ahead and download. Every single week with a brand new episode. You're not alone in this world, cousin, so we share information and honest discussion and keep repping the culture like we supposed to. They spread gossip, but they never come close to. I can hear it inside their tone. They talk about the industry but never left their home. You get laced up with bullet points and such, plus empowering topics that they never would touch. You can put your whole network against the team, but Super Duty Tough Work's the MVP. Most valuable podcast on MP3. Priceless info, but all of it's free. So take these words home and think them through. Super Duty Tough Work is coming at you. You are now listening to Super Duty Tough Work with your host, Blueprint. Raw and uncut. Adult conversations. No shucking, no jiving, and no bullshit.
All right, folks, we are back. Super Duty Tough Work, Blueprint, and Logic. The most infamous podcast on planet Earth, doing what we do every week. This week's topic is the end of sampling. It's a very provocative title. I know. I had to get y'all with the provocation this week. You know what I mean? But it's something to think about. And before we continue, just as a reminder, this week's episode sponsored by Hugo Monster's new album, Trial and Error, is pre-ordering right now on HugoMonster.com. He's got cassette packages, CD packages, stickers, hoodies, the whole nine. Bandcamp, pre-order his album. Comes out March 31st, the end of this month. And Logic is featured on it. It's produced by Pavo. It's got a vocal sample from your boys on there. Got bars from Logic, rugged beats, rugged rhymes. Support this man. The title of the record is Trial and Error. Now, to this topic, the end of sampling. This article I'm going to read is called Google's AI Can Now Reveal Hidden Samples. This article is from music3.0.com. And it goes like this. The sound of modern music is based on samples. Many times they're legitimately licensed, credited, or purchased, but there's still a lot that are used without permission. This is easily accomplished by shifting the pitch or using the many modulators and saturator plugins that are available to make the sound virtually unrecognizable from its original form. Those days may be over, however, as the clever use of Google's AI assistant is revealing many samples for the first time. Back in the early days of sampling, I was working with a famous DJ whose secret sauce was taking tracks from artists from small foreign countries, then digitally manipulating the crap out of them. It was a great strategy that kept his licensing costs down to zero, but it certainly didn't help the artists and songwriters who could have used a little extra boost in the pocketbook. Even as the years went on and management teams and labels became much better at spotting unlicensed samples, I'm not sure if his ruse was ever discovered. But that was before AI came along to lend a helping hand. A happy accident. Now, thanks to some clever sampling sleuths, Google's AI can detect a sample as little as a half-second long that's even been chopped and time stretched. That's because even though Google Assistant uses the same fingerprinting technology as Shazam, its deep neural network is miles ahead when it comes to sample identification. To be clear, sample detection was never an intended job for Google Assistant. Its ability was found by accident. A sample hunter by the name of DJ Pasta figured out a way to feed audio directly into the Google AI and was surprised when it identified every song. After digging deeper, he discovered that it could also uncover the samples used as well. Just like that, a new use for the technology was found. There are ramifications. A few things come to mind about what might happen in the future as a result of Google sample detection. First of all, it's going to make it easier for labels and managers to uncover unlicensed samples. You can bet that they already have teams scouring hits of the past 25 years trying to track down some money makers. There's lots of legal action coming down the pike. Probably more ominous is the fact that YouTube's Content ID and the similar technologies that every social and content platform uses will eventually utilize something similar to Assistant in the future. When that happens, it will be way tougher to upload unlicensed material and probably impossible to upload cover songs as well. That will open up a whole can of worms of validating songs that have licensed content, which is a pain already. Music AI is definitely here to stay, and just like Google AI's ability to discover hidden samples, we're only scratching the surface of what the technology can be used for. Now, Logic, what do you think? You look sad over there. My man looks sick. He over there, just his face, his whole demeanor just went to the dumps. That's how I was reading. Your whole body language changed, brother. How you feeling?
Why can't we just have fun, man? Why it gotta be,
Why it gotta be like that?
Why it gotta be like that? AI, Google, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, man, it sucks. You know what I'm saying? Like, it sucks. It's been something that I've been thinking about for a long time anyway. Just trying to teach myself to play more instruments, using more percussive stuff, chopping the hell out of stuff, but it sounds like that's not going to matter anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, it sucks for producers that are mainly sample based and can't, aren't classically trained pianists. You know what I'm saying? It's dark days ahead, man.
Winter is coming. Winter is coming.
Right.
I'm sorry, y'all. I hate to be grim this week, man. Look, it pains me to say this because, I'm sample boy. Like, I am the sampling guy. Like, shit. All of my biggest records prior to like 2011, prior to Adventures, was all sample based, And there's a lot of my catalog that when they come knocking, your boy might be in trouble. I'm gonna be hiding under the bed when they come knocking, my brother.
Facts.
But it's real. This is something that I there was a point. Like when I got a smartphone, the first time I saw that app Shazam, I said, that thing over.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a nice run, y'all.
Yeah, they coming.
They coming. It may not be now. It may be 10, 15 years, maybe 20. Who knows? But they coming. And what you and I know about computer programming and what we know about this shit is that every sound is just a collection of bits and bytes. Every sound wave is just like a fingerprint. They're coming with technology now where they can take the vocals off of these things based on their sonic fingerprint, based on the frequencies that it's at. That tells you right there that the technology is getting sophisticated enough to catch all of the techniques that we are employing. And many of us, you know, we from the school where this stuff is just, you know, it's just loops. It's not heavily, you know, chopped up or nothing like that.
Or even manipulated. Because the technology was different back then. So
yeah, a lot
of samples were just looped up and maybe time stretched. You know what I'm saying? Like if that, because time stretching has come a long way as well. So, you know, we come from a time when it was loops, drum breaks.
Yep.
You know, that's it. Filtered loops for the bass line.
Yeah.
That was the beat. You know what I'm saying? Like now we have more technology that can manipulate samples more, but the way this is sounding, that ain't gonna matter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something we definitely have to start thinking about as producers. You know, of those of you who make music, I'm not here telling you not to sample. I'ma still sample. Because, you know, Elijah and I talked about this off air about, and he asked the question, I wonder if they're going to come for the smaller guys with this. My response was, it's really about the math to them. People who get sued for samples, it's never about who sampled it. I mean, it's about how big it is, right?
Yeah.
I could sample the same record that Logic samples, that DJ Premier samples. Who's going to be more likely to get sued? Premier. Not just because he's more popular, but also because they know that he got the ability to pay. All this shit comes down to math. These labels, these people who go out and specifically hunt for people who are, you know, they be on Who Sampled all day, getting their lawsuits off of that. When they go through that, they are looking at that artist profile and saying, oh, you sampled my thing. Let me see how many YouTube views you got. Let me see how many Spotify plays you getting every month. Let me see what kind of visibility you got. Let me see what your fan base look like. How many Instagram followers? They are looking at all of this. How long you been doing it? And they're determining, can I sue him for enough to where it justifies paying to file the lawsuit and to pay the lawyer?
Yep.
That's all they care about. They might only sue, and they'll come get you for 10,000. Trust me, we've been there. Because if they perceive you to be a group that's capable of paying 10,000, you paying 10,000.
Yeah.
Or else it's gonna go to court and you could lose even more. That's all they care about. They want enough to pay that lawyer's attorney for filing that paperwork, to get their bread, to get their shit back in order, and send that message. That's it. They're not trying to be chasing broke artists around. You know what I mean? They're not going to chase you around. And so I don't want the artists who are not big to be losing sleep over this. Right. Not yet. At the beginning of your career, just make what you feel. But keep this in mind, that at some point, you could become big. As you start to ascend, you're going to have a strategy for any sample music you got in your catalog. Because the technology has changed, man.
Scary.
And so in this episode, we didn't want to keep it all grim. We mentioned you need to have a strategy. And so we're going to talk about some strategy things in this episode. Things that you can do to avoid the sample clearance apocalypse. Purge, the sample purge that AI will bring upon us. The cold winter that is off into the horizon that you can see. You know, winter is coming, my friends. And so, we're going to take a break and we'll get back and we'll talk about some of these strategies.
Work.
What's up, everybody? Got some big news to share with you all today. I'm proud to announce that for the first time, I will be opening up my artist coaching and consulting services to the public. I have been doing it for several years behind the scenes, helping artists and small businesses achieve their goals, but it's never been something that I made publicly available, nor anything that I promoted until now. So if you're an artist or a small business owner, I'm now available to be booked for one-on-one sessions designed to help you achieve your goals as quickly and as efficiently as possible. If this is something that you're interested in, email me at superdutytoughwork@weightless.net. Tell me a little bit about yourself and we'll get the ball rolling from there. I look forward to working with you all. Peace. This is your weekly reminder that we have 2 books that you, as a listener or watcher of this podcast, need to absolutely own. The first is The 10 Traits of Successful Hip Hop Artists, and the second is The Social Media Cheat Code. Both of these books were released within the last year. The 10 Traits of Successful Hip Hop Artists is a book where I go through the stories and explain the traits that are behind the success of some of the biggest names in hip hop today. The book has got nothing but amazing feedback. And if you are an artist, business person, whatever you do, if you would like to be inspired and would like to learn more about hip hop along the way and also see some reinforcement of the concepts that we talk about on this podcast, The 10 Traits of Successful Hip Hop is for you. Second book is The Social Media Cheat Code. That is for everyone who listens to this podcast who does not consider themselves an expert or really good at social media. It's not for super experienced people. It's actually for people who are on social media but are not getting the results you need. So what we did is I broke down like 12 or 13 strategies that I use all the time that actually work really well for me. I put it into book. I gave you examples and I tell you how to implement it. That's a book you absolutely need as a listener to this podcast, watcher of this podcast. If you're on YouTube, supporting these books actually goes a long way towards supporting the podcast. So to support the show, if you like what we do, obviously we don't necessarily get paid to do this shit. So support the products and services that we create. And these 2 books are a big part of that. We appreciate your support, and back to the show. Okay, folks, we're back. Super Duty Tough Work, Blueprint, Logic. We're talking about the end of sampling. First segment, you heard it. We read an article that was titled, Google's AI Can Now Reveal Hidden Samples. Now, we haven't tested this technology to see what it can do. I'd love to see this technology with some things that maybe we made and see if it can find those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I did read something where they used this technology and there was like samples that Madlib had used and chopped the hell up, and nobody knew what samples he had used for the records, and they put it through this technology and it found all the joints that and it was like obscure, like
that's the thing
weird,
about Madlib. Like Madlib to me as a producer, this is such a sidebar, but Madlib to me as a producer is not a guy who chops a lot.
Right.
His strength is in the records. He is a hell of a digger. Like he finds shit that you be like, where the fuck? It'd be 20 years later, you just be stumbling on that record. Like, or learning about the genre, the little niche of records he was sampling. Like, that's where he got that. But guys like him could be in trouble.
Yeah, Mongolian throat singing.
right. You know what I mean? Yeah. They coming for all of that. All of that, man. So let's talk about ways to kind of avoid some of these problems. And the first one is obvious, and that is less looping, more chopping. Now, while these things can detect segments of music, like they said in there, half a second in terms of chopping is a pretty long time. You know what I mean? That might be half a bar, you know what I mean? Or a quarter note, more than a quarter note. So it's like some of us chop more than that. If you're into micro chopping, if you're into moving it around, really manipulating it, you're going to have less likely of a chance to get popped for this shit. But looping in general, you should be very careful with that. You know, because this is based on just like every wave file has a fingerprint.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you and just like you can pitch it up, they can detect it, pitch it up, and pitch it down to its original choice and find all these combinations. So number one thing is less looping, more chopping.
Yeah, I'm more of a chopper anyway. I don't loop a lot.
Yeah.
But this is really making me happy that I do, chop, because I'll chop some of the shit, you know what I'm saying, to where you don't even know. You hear the original and you're like, what? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm a looper.
So, yeah, you are. You are.
You know, I mean, I had my joints, like you and I were talking about that joint on RTA, like off the air a couple weeks ago and you was like, what the fuck? But I just like when a loop is just fire, I'm just like, why do I need to chop this up? You need, because of this shit. This is why. This is why.
This is exactly why.
I now have the answer to that. The eternal question of why do I need to chop this up if it sounds great like it is? Winter's coming.
Yeah.
That's why. So that's number one. Number two thing you can do to avoid problems is what I like to call the late reveal. What you notice about whether it's content ID or these things is like what a lot of hip hop songs start off as is just the loop playing.
Mm-hmm.
The song format of hip hop is very predictable. We had that loop playing. Be like, oh, think about like Far Side Passing Me By. Think about the majority of dope hip hop songs have just the loop playing the first 4 bars.
Mm-hmm.
Then the drums come in, then the rhyming come in. And you're like, oh, but that formula will get you in a lot of trouble, man.
Yeah.
Like the sooner you reveal that sample, especially at the beginning, it's gonna get you. Like anytime the content ID caught me slipping on some shit on YouTube, like if we ever played audio in one of these episodes, it's because of that. It's because a beat or something we played or a song we might have played was the beginning of it was there, and it started like 90% of hip hop songs start.
Yeah.
No drums, just a loop.
Yeah. I got a joint on transition that starts out with the part that I chopped up. So it plays the entire piece that I chopped at the beginning of the song, and then it goes into the song, and the song has the chops in it. So that's like, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get hit pretty soon. They're gonna smack the shit out of me for that one.
Hey, look, I got a song right now, True Vision off of Respect the Architect. I don't know what happened, but somehow that shit just ain't on my Spotify. I don't know if
they won't. Yeah, it's dark. Like that joint is
very dark.
Yeah.
And I ain't even fighting it. I'm just like, they got me. I'm gonna just leave well enough alone. Because I started with the loop. You know what I mean? The breakdown is the most obvious part of the thing. And I don't even rhyme over that part that I played at the beginning, but it's the most obvious loop that the song I sample starts with as well.
Right.
It's just asking for problems, man. What I should have done instead was when a smarter thing is to arrange your songs so where the loop don't start until after the drums start.
Yeah.
The loop don't start until after you start rhyming.
Yeah.
When you start rhyming, when the vocals start, because you're gonna have to make different arrangements that are like that if you don't want to play this game, because it's too easy for them when you start with the loop of the thing that you flipped. And for us in hip hop, it's so tempting because if you look at like a Donuts by Dilla, so many songs in there, he starts with the sample to let you know what he's about to do with it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And a lot of us have gotten to the habit of, okay, to show people what I'm doing with it, I'm going to play the sample first, and then I'm going to show you so you can follow it. But that formula is dangerous. That's number 2. Number 3 way to avoid problems. This goes along with number 2 is never isolate your loops. If you're going to loop something, chop something, you need either drums playing over it or you need vocals playing over it at all times.
Yeah.
You might be tempted to put that instrumental out there where you got that breakdown in the middle and there's no drums. You might get away with it. You might not. I don't know. All I know is that winter's coming. And if winter's coming, we got to be proactive about this shit.
Instrumental records are scary nowadays.
Yeah. You're gonna have to really, really be on your shit. Really be on your shit. You know what I mean? Like that's like something you gotta really think about now.
Yeah.
Like the sequencing of your tracks. You know? What I think should hopefully come back is like the collage style of beats that we grew up on.
Yeah, Bomb Squad kind of.
Yeah, like even like I was mentioning, like Passing Me By the Far Side, such a collage of sounds and different things from different records. But you know, a lot of records from those, we don't make records like that. Producers don't make records like that no more. I think it's just because, you know, they aren't. I think it was. This is what's gonna sound wild. It's like we'd have more records right now, right? You and I have more access to way more records than cats did back then. But we don't know our records as well as they did back then.
Right. It's true.
Cause like certain records that I've had where I actually pulled off some dope collage shit for even like Producer for You, it was at the point when I only had 1,000 records. And I had sticky tabs on every record. I knew my records like the back of my hands. And sometimes I'll revisit those records 4 or 5 times. Like I got this thing, it might work. Might not work for the first 10 beats. The one it works for, it fucking is incredible.
Yeah.
So I think that collage style should hopefully stop this isolation type of thing we do where we're just playing a loop by itself, nothing over it, nothing layered. And even though it sounds fly, AI is just too smart for that.
Yeah.
It's number 3. Number 4 way to avoid this, and this is one that I'm sure a lot of people don't want to hear. Learn how to play instruments. Gets real quiet when I start talking like this.
It's not fun.
Long faces. It's not fun. It's not. Practicing is not fun. None of that shit is fun. Your hands be hurting for learning how to play the piano and shit. Your wrist, your carpal tunnel shit. You know, look, it's not fun. Sampling is fun. You know, and I'm not saying that like learning how to play is like it doesn't take talent to know how to hook up a dope sample. It does. Just as much like it's motherfuckers who can play piano, they can never hook up a beat like we can.
Right.
Can never hook up a sample to make it like we make it. It's 2 different skills. But in light of this conversation, that thing that you learned in high school, that instrument you might have played in church, that instrument your pops got in the basement, that guitar that's just sitting there getting dusty, you know, that piano that don't nobody ain't been tuned up in years. Now is the perfect time to start touching that.
Yeah.
Given YouTube and everything and lessons right at your fingertips, you know, you might be able to pick that up. Put in a year, an hour a day. See where you at. Just play around with it. To me, the point in which I started learning how to play more, revisiting learning how to play more, probably around Adventures in Counterculture era, before that around 06. When I got Reason and I started kind of messing with sampled stuff that wasn't sampled. And that is behind the whole creation of Adventures in Counterculture. But then I went back to sampling. I'm not always doing that style, but what I learned during that period helps me tremendously now, because now I feel like I'm finally at the point where I can make beats that don't have samples that sound like they got samples.
Yeah.
Where people are confused. They don't know the difference. But it wasn't overnight. That's a 10-year journey. I implore all of you, if you're in it for the long term, learn how to play something. If music is just fun to you and you ain't planning on doing it for a long time, sure, go buy that sample pack, sample that record. But I think you can learn both. You know, learn a sample well will teach you about melody. You know, and that's an invaluable skill in music. Composition and melody. That's what we've all learned as producers from the records.
Right.
It's like a crash course in music that's faster than most motherfuckers will ever get. But some of us, we need to also augment that with learning how to play.
Yeah.
One, it's just a good skill to have. So you can better understand music. 2, get on stage with it. You see your boy be out there with the guitar, with the trombone. Sometimes, y'all been to the Blueprint experience. I know what I do at the live shows. But that comes from this whole thing, you know, picking up things that I might have dabbled in and just learning them seriously enough to get on stage with them for a little bit or play
Yeah,
a
and
little. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, my bad. But if you're, if you at least learn how basic piano, because of our DAWs now, then you have so many instruments at your fingertips. If you just learn how to play piano, if you just,
Yep.
and all you got to do is learn basic keys, learn basic scales, and understand chords a little bit.
Yep.
And there's so much that you can do because with our DAWs, all of these synths and all of these, VSTs and all that are multiple instruments. So you can learn how to play as long as you learn how to play keys, basically, then you have, a library of instrumentation at your fingertips.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. A lot of my favorite composers out there, guys who play piano, you know what I mean? Like Bob James, David Axelrod. Like you listen to these guys, like they're not soloing all on their records like that, but they're guys who play piano and they were to compose these epic ass things simply because of that. The list goes on and on. Quincy Jones, like it's like just a piano opens you up to everything else. And so I encourage everybody to do that. We'll take a break and we'll be right back.
Right.
Are you an artist who has the talent to succeed, but has a hard time executing? Do you have the will to win, but lack the plan? Are you tired of having great ideas that never come to fruition, or starting new projects but never finishing them? If you answered yes to any of these questions, reach out to me at superdutytoughwork@weightless.net to book a one-on-one coaching call. Tell me a little bit about who you are, what you're trying to do, and I'll see if I can be of service to you. Have a great day. Quick announcement. Over the last several years, we've been asked many times by the listeners of the show if we would ever open it up to the public for advertising. We've always been interested in this, but we never had the systems in place to make it work properly. I'm proud to announce that we are officially accepting advertising from the public on Super Duty Tough Work. Meaning, if you're a small business owner or an artist and you'd like to create more awareness about your product, service, or release on a Super Duty Tough Work podcast, we're now in a position to do that. For more information, email us at superdutytoughwork@weightless.net. Again, that's superdutytoughwork@weightless.net. Email us there. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you would like to promote, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible to let you know if we think it's a good fit and what the next steps are. Thank you for your time. Back to the show. All right, folks, we're back. Super Duty Tough Work, Blueprint and Logic. We talking about the end of sampling as we know it. Man, grim topic, but hopefully some of these solutions are hitting you and inspiring you. It's not the end. We say that, it's kind of provocative, but look, as I said, it's all about math to these labels. It's all about math. If you're bigger, you already been concerned. You know this already. But for those of you who are on the come up, this might be something you've never thought about that you need to probably think about depending on the trajectory of your career. So we got four more things that we want to break down about strategies to get around this. And as a quick reminder, this week's episode is sponsored by Hugo Monster. His new album, Trial and Error, is out March 31st. Pre-order now at hugomonster.com. Produced by Pavo. Guest feature from Logic. Sample Your Boys, the most infamous podcast on planet Earth. Rugged Beats, Rugged Rhymes. And how to avoid this problem. Number 5, build relationships with musicians.
Yes.
This is big. During the era where I was making Adventures in Counterculture, I was out every night, you know what I'm saying, prior to that. So I was in clubs, knowing bands. I had a lot of guys who I could tap into to get stuff played. Bass players, piano players, guitar players, like all of that stuff, drummers, you know what I mean? And there's stuff like that on the record But a lot of that came from me just being active in the scene, forming friendships with musicians, and they be like, "Hey, I got this piece of music I'm working on. Would you be willing to come through and play some stuff?" You know, you let them hear what you got going, and that's a way that you can honestly sidestep some of these problems, because whether you're playing originals or something, or you're doing an interpolation of something that you like, the rules change when you're playing it yourself.
Right.
Versus sampling that master recording, which is, excuse me, I almost had to sneeze there, which is a whole different conversation itself on copyright. But the better way to go is to understand musicianship, be able to speak the language, as we spoke about. When you can play the keys, you can speak the language to other artists, other musicians. And it's very important that you be able to do that so that you can create without having to always tap into a record to sample.
Yeah. It's not as fun. It can be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It can be, because if you have somebody come over, just play some stuff. Or, you know, I have a homie that sent me a sample pack, but it's just him playing the guitar. It's him playing the keys. And it's a bunch of samples for me to sample. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you know, five minutes of him playing keys, you know, a couple minutes of him just playing guitar riffs, you know what I'm saying? And shit like that. And knowing people that can do that kind of thing for you and having access to that almost makes it, you know, it's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? It's this, you're just not playing a record, you know, you're still sampling. You're just not sampling, you know, the vinyl, and you don't get that crackle, you know what I mean? But you can add that these days.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. And I'll say this, I'm going to add this on top of that. There's a feeling that is different from making a record, a dope record with a sample, but it's probably more rewarding. And that feeling is when you compose something yourself and you have real musicians play it, and you listen to it and it sounds fire, and then you sample that. There's no feeling like that.
Yeah.
There's no feeling like that. Like, to this day, one of my biggest songs is Radio Inactive. I wrote that melody. I wrote that guitar line. I sent it to a guitarist. He replayed it. Then I went back and chopped it and laid it out and arranged it. There's no feeling like that. Because that's like, wait a fucking minute. Like, this is some shit that I would sample.
Right.
It sounds like that, and technically I did sample it. The only difference is that I started at the beginning, and I think that that's a feeling that a lot of guys who sample don't know yet. Because like you said, it's not fun. Sampling is fun because it's also got the feeling of adventure.
Yep.
You search, you know, you out there hunting, digging, just to find that one little part. That part is, you can't beat that part. Just literally going to record stores and finding shit that no one knows got nothing on it. You find it, take it home, it's got some fire on it that no one's used. That feeling can't be replaced. But there's another feeling, which is having composed something that is dope yourself. And even though you can't play that great, having someone else play it and bring it to life, and then you use that shit is next level.
Yeah. Like, one of my goals is to have a record like Your Adventures, like, you know, Ill Poetic's Idiot's Guide to Anarchy, because that's what you guys took instruments, you know, people that played instruments, brought them in, wrote melodies, and created probably two of my favorite albums, you know what I'm saying, like, by anybody that I know. And I want to do that, you know what I'm saying? That's something that I've always wanted to do, because I'm sure the feeling of listening to it back and knowing that you created, you know, 95, 99% of everything on there, even though you didn't play it, you wrote the songs, you wrote the melodies, you know, I need a guitarist to play this, I'm gonna call my boy. I need, you know, picking out those instruments that's gonna make this beat fire. I'm sure that's a whole nother, you know, feeling within itself. You know, it's just, like you said, the hunt with the samples, you know what I'm saying, the surprise even, you know, listening to records and hearing certain things, or finding samples by, you know, some of your favorite producers, finding samples. Shoot, like I've posted things that I found that you sampled,
Yep.
you know what I'm saying, for records of mine, just digging. And that is a feeling that can't be beat either. So yeah, it's got to be a balance, man. At some point, you know, we got to get to the point where we got some balance in there. And yeah, I'm still kind of upset that this is coming down the pike like it is, but you know, it's gonna make us be more creative.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's gonna make us be more creative. It's gonna probably, you know, make us create some ill processes and some dope music down the line. So, you know, upset but excited at the same time.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's number 5. Number 6 way to avoid problems coming down the pike is to study audio engineering. By this, I don't mean you got to go to school for audio engineering. What I do think you need to do is that if you're a guy who likes sampling, you need to understand why those records sound the way they do. What is it about the sound sonically on those older records that draws you to it? Because they certainly sound completely different than the records you hear made today. What gear was used? What is it about it? Are they using reverbs, delays? Is it saturated? Well, how can I emulate that from an engineering standpoint? How can I create something that's not sampled and give it the feel of a sample? You got to take some time and really look at older records and spend a lot of time like, okay, trying to emulate that.
Mm-hmm.
Trial and error, do it over and over again. I'm at that point now where I'm kind of getting there where like I can make samples that I would sample and use. I can make compositions, but it's what I say, we started back before Adventures. This is a 10, 12-year journey to get to where, and the technology starts catching up, and then, you know, my composition starts catching up, and then certain things got to fall in line. But when you understand the engineering behind these things that you want to sample, you then will develop the ear to create them yourself.
Yeah.
And sometimes you may not be able to do that. But if you can't, then it's okay to bring someone else in who does.
Facts.
You know, that's number 6. Number 7 way to get around this. And we just talked about it. Make your own samples.
Mm-hmm.
I've been working on this since like 2020. I think 2020, 2021, since the pandemic. I was like, I'm going to learn how to make a sample or something that I would sample. And, you know, I haven't put out anything yet, but I have little random things I'll send to a Logic every now and again, or Superstition, like, yo, what you think of this? And it'll just be a sample. The guy's like, damn, when you going to put this shit out, motherfucker? Stop playing. And
I
like,
done made a couple beats.
Yeah,
from
like
the
guys,
service.
right. Logic's about to make an album off this shit. I'm still over here like, damn, is it good enough to use? Yeah, motherfucker, people have to put out records with it. What's wrong with you? You know, but it's something that I've gained like a passion for, simply because of the need that arose after getting sued. You know, after getting caught with some samples out there and not getting sued, but kind of getting, you know, a slap on the wrist type joint.
That cease and desist.
Yeah. You be like, man, you know what? Let me make a little sample. Let me learn how to do this real quick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let me learn how to do this. And it's not an overnight thing, but I think if you put the same level of work into that as you do making beats, you will have 2 really important skills being developed at the same time.
Yeah.
Making beats is a very valuable skill. Music production is. I'm saying that, you know, in concert with that, at the same time, start learning about how to engineer, how to create, how to write your own compositions, and how to make them sound like the records that you would sample.
Yeah.
That eventually gets you around this whole thing. You don't need no sample packs no more. You are the sample pack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't need to go looking for the style of stuff you want to sample. You got it in your head. You understand it from a composition standpoint. You understand it from an engineering standpoint. At that point, you can make as much of it as you want to.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's just finding right now, because I have a little music background. So I understand key, I understand notes, I understand those kind of things. And a lot of times I just stumble on stuff. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times I'll just turn on a VST, here, start with a foundation of piano, then add other stuff to it, make sure it's in the right key, and see if I can come up with something that I want to sample, that I want to, or that I want to loop because I'm creating it. You know what I mean? And, if you don't know how to play, you don't necessarily need to know how to play to come up with shit. You can always just play around. Now, learning how to play will make it easier and it'll be a less painful process. But if you have a keyboard, if you have, even a MPC or whatever, you can assign notes to pads and all that stuff and just kind of create, your own sounds and your own, melodies and stuff and see what happens. Because if you've been making beats for a long time, it's in you.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's in you to come up with melody because you've been listening to records for years, or however long, or you just been listening to music for a long time. So it's in there. You just never tapped into it because a lot of us rely on the records. A lot of us rely on the samples. So the fact that, we have access to all these DAWs with VSTs and all this stuff, it's in you. You just got to, tap into that and practice it.
Straight up. Yeah, I agree. So that's number 7, making your own samples. Last bullet point of the evening. Use third-party samples. Basically do it legally within the constraints of what's going on now. You got all these sites popping up where you can actually legally, they have catalogs of things that you can sample that you don't have to worry about sample clearance, publishing, none of that stuff being sued. Now, while it isn't as fun as digging in the crates, finding your own shit, and it isn't as exclusive as that might feel, it's a hell of a lot safer legally. And that is the appeal of it to me. It would be that, hey, regardless of the sample source, a dope producer is going to make a dope beat.
Right.
You give him something dope, he'll make it. And some people don't want to deal with that headache of maybe you put something out and it's starting to bubble and then it comes out and then you got to fucking pull the record. You got a lawsuit pending because of this shit. Like I watched the interview with Pras from Fuji's last night and he was talking about Ready or Not. And he said they didn't clear the sample to Ready or Not. He said it was like some sample. He's like, dude asked, well, why didn't you? He was like, it was my fault. I told him not to. I thought we could get away with it because she was the artist was from Australia or whatever. He said, then I realized she's the #1 artist in Australia. He's like, what was I thinking?
Right.
He said that cost us $3 million. They was gonna pull the
Damn.
record.
Damn. Yeah, and I think also in a situation like that, you don't know if a record's gonna pop. Like you know that you think your shit is dope.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You don't see why it wouldn't go #1.
Yeah.
But you don't necessarily think
10 million
everything.
diamond.
Right. Yeah, you're not gonna go, you ain't thinking like, oh yeah, she's an artist in Australia. Well, I ain't gonna reach over there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. This is gonna be some US stuff, you know. Fugees is one of the most well-known groups in the world.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to clear that shit. You got to, know.
And this was pre-internet. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think cats was looking at foreign records back then like, oh, we can get away with some of this stuff. Nah, not if it's a popular. In general, it's so connected right now that's even more difficult now.
Right.
So, but yeah, a way around that is to do it legally. Use sample sources that do the hard work before you even get there. Splice to what's the other one? There's another one I'm going blank on. There's a couple big spots that do that. You got Drum Broker. You got all these people selling sample packs and things of that nature. All you have to do in those situations, you can probably get clearance and permission yourself on some of those sites.
Yep.
And that beats having to worry about it later on if you don't want to go that route or if you ain't got the time. So whatever you choose to do, I think it's the right move as long as you are proactive about it. The thing that we did not tell y'all to do is just hide under the bed and hope for the best.
Yeah, not smart.
Hope the boogeyman go away.
Right. Nah, boogeyman getting bigger.
Right. The longer you stand on that bed, the bigger you get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, you know, we're not going to tell y'all to do nothing like that. You know, certain things we did at certain points in our career, we didn't never thought it would have came to this.
Nah.
I mean, I've been putting out records since 99.
Yeah.
It's 24 years.
Yeah.
A lot of that has changed. A lot of things have changed in that time, man.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to take a more proactive approach. And I'll never tell somebody not to sample. You take your risks. You know, there's a risk based on your size. And you don't want this shit to paralyze you from making good music. I say, worry about making good music first.
Right.
And then, you know, make sure you have some strategies in place. So if something does pop, you might have an alternate version of it. You might have this, you might have that. You never know.
Yeah.
But be proactive. And I hope this has helped somebody out there who is a producer or MC and you're thinking about this situation. This shit isn't it's not at our doorstep yet.
Yeah, but it's coming.
It's gonna come. Yeah. We don't know when, but you know, you don't wait till it starts raining to buy an umbrella.
Facts.
And so this episode is about you know, going to Walmart and getting that umbrella because you heard it was gonna rain next week.
Mm-hmm.
Not because you out in the rain and you already wet.
Right.
So that's it for this week. You know, the end of sampling. And I hope this inspires somebody. We appreciate all of you guys' support. And we'll see y'all next week.
Peace.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to Super Duty Tough Work. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Follow the podcast on SoundCloud. Peace.
Shoot, I got styles already that's more complex that nobody know about. I mean, super duty tough work.